On the third day, they had me throw batting practice again, and then some of the regular players were hitting off me, and they were not having any more luck against me than the extra men. And even Harry Walker himself, you know, he led the National League in hitting one year, and he got it and hit off me, but no one can hit the ball solid, and they're hitting pop-ups, ground outs, and even though they knew what was coming, and I was throwing strikes. And so everything went perfect. And on the third day, then after workout, they took me up in the big office, and there we had Joe Mathis, that was head of the scouting system, and Fred Hahn, my dad, and Bing Devine, who was the general manager, and Harry Walker, who was the manager of the Cardinals. And they're going to get me to sign, you know, try to sign me. And so we had a lot of small talk at first, and then they got around to it that they would like to sign me, and what did I want, what would it take to sign me. And so I shocked them all by saying that I wanted $50,000 bonus. And that was not done in those days very often at all. The Cardinals had one bonus player that was Dick Schofield for $35,000, and it didn't turn out too good. What happens if you get a bonus contract for anything over, I think, $8,000, then you had to be on the big league roster for 2 years. And so they had to make awfully sure that they wanted you that bad to have to put you on a big league roster for 2 years. And a lot of times, if they couldn't play you right away, then you just sat and you were not getting experience. And so that rule was to keep bonuses down and from happening so much. So everything got quiet in the room when I said that. And finally Bing Devine said, we have no authority to do this type of thing. And we'd have to get permission from Mr. Bush, the owner of the ball club. And I said, well, I've always been a Cardinal fan, and I haven't gone from club to club to try to bargain with different clubs. I said, I do want to play for the Cardinals, but I want $50,000. So they said, well, we'll contact Mr. Bush. Well, they got a hold of him. He's in a railroad car somewhere in the country, but they got a hold of him, and Bing Devine went into another room and talked to him, and at first he said no. There's no, we've already gone through this with one bonus player and it didn't work out, so Harry Walker said, well, let me talk to him. And Harry Walker, I don't know what he told him, but he talked to him for about 10 minutes, and it was a yes, that they would sign me. And I learned years later that Harry Walker said there's only 2 players that were guaranteed big league talent from the beginning, and I was one of them. After we got through that part, then I said, well, there's one thing extra, that I have to be allowed to go to church on Sunday, or I can't play. And so they agreed to that. Okay, we'll make sure that you go to church on Sunday. And this was just a verbal agreement. It wasn't in any contract, but it was honored by all the different ball clubs that I played with. You know, that in 20 years of Major League Baseball, all the ball clubs I played with honored that. So even if I came to the ballpark late, that was a big thing, because I didn't feel like that if I weren't allowed to go to church and play baseball, that I would survive the game and survive it morally and spiritually. And so this is, to me, that was just a common sense thing. So I signed with the Cardinals and signed the bonus contract, and it was just, that was a great time to go to St. Louis with my dad and Fred Hahn, and they were the ones that were nervous. I mean, they were just really nervous that whole time. It was in Chicago, and on September the 2nd, and you know, it's just, you're used to playing amateur ball, but you get to the big leagues and you got the big ballpark, and home plate looks way away, you know, from the mound, and it's just different, you know, and the stands are full of people, and so I feel like I'm sure most players feel when they get at the big leagues and pitch in their first game. But I gave up a 2-run home run in that first outing. Harry Walker was an old catcher, played for the Cardinals at one time, and came to the Cardinals later on in 1956. He was with the Cardinals, and he was my catcher. So, but anyway, he saw me throwing out there, and he said, all I want to do is just get up, take my swings, and sit down. I don't want this kid to hit me or something, you know. But anyway, he hit a home run, and so I gave up 2 runs for my first outing. And my second outing was in St. Louis against the Cubs. And the first 4 innings went really well. I got them out, but then the 5th inning, the bases were loaded, and Ernie Banks, who is the big Cub star, was the hitter. And the bases are loaded, and no one told me, don't throw him a fastball for a strike, you know. But I did throw him a fastball for a strike and hit it out of the park, and it was a home run for his 5th Grand Slam of the year, which is still a record to this day. So I got into the record books my second outing and the first start, and I'm still in the record books. Well, I pitched in September, and you know, I did not bad but not good, and had a 0-0 record, you know, at the end, and then starting my first full year is 1956, and that was interesting because we still traveled by train in 56 and 57, and I remember playing against Jackie Robinson because we played in Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, and they had Campanella and Jackie Robinson and all those stars, you know, for the Dodgers, and they usually win the pennant in the National League. I mean, they had great clubs at that time. I was privileged of being able to do that and pitch in the Polo Grounds as well, and so. And of course, the Giants were still in New York at that time, and pitching against Willie Mays and all those guys that played for the Giants, and Bobby Thompson, and so to have those experiences, I think was real neat as I look back, because it wasn't long after that until the Dodgers moved to the West Coast. See, and all those teams moved to the West Coast, and so I think that was in 58 that transition was made, and then we started flying everywhere from that point on. And of course the transition, you know, from a small town boy growing up and then going to the big leagues, and then you're exposed to everything in the world, in the big league level. And I think it is important. It's a profession, and it is important that you have cohesion on the ball club and a team spirit and playing to win. And the Cardinals really had the basics down well. So far as winning and doing the little things to win, like hit and run and bunting and stealing bases and sacrificing yourself for the club and everything. But it was a different atmosphere for me as a Christian, and so I think I was more off the field as an isolationist. I didn't see the players too much in non-professional activities off the field. And so I'd spend time with friends and with Christian friends that I developed in different cities and things of that nature. I think it was halfway through my career before I really was able to just relate to the ball players really well, and find the things really in common I had with them, and build relationships more with the players. I think it took me halfway through my career before I was able to do that without compromising my convictions and my religious beliefs. And early in my career, I think it was just self-protection, because baseball is pretty wild, and pretty wild activities at times, and so I wanted to stay away from that, and so I think sometimes you go to the other extreme just to avoid that, and then you learn how to relate. Because I remember a friend of mine that gave me some good advice, because I was telling him, you know, a lot of the bad elements of what goes on in baseball, and he said, well, Lindy, if we only associate with angels, we probably couldn't do them any good, so it's good you can associate with people that you can help. And so that always stuck with me. And how do I find ways to connect with these players and so forth? I think I did connect well. I was player representative for the Yankees, and I was player representative also for the Royals when I played for the Royals, and so they looked at me as someone that could represent them and the players. I think it's just like many professions today. You're going to be associating with people that are not Christian and do not share the values that you have. And I think you can do that without compromising. And for one thing, if you're a Christian, you're always truthful. You're going to be trustworthy. You're going to be dependable. You're going to be a hard-working person. And so you're going to have these traits that help counterbalance some of these other things. And I think you just have to be true to your profession as a Christian. You have to be true to Christ no matter what the situation is. And I think this is why I couldn't bring myself to cheat in sports. A lot of cheating goes on, and doctoring the baseball and throwing the spitter and different things. And when you're having a down period in the game, you know, the temptation is, well, do something extra, you know, so that you can compete. And in my day, a lot of them took greenies or uppers, amphetamines. And then later on, the steroids came in, you know, very heavily, and really gave baseball a bad name. But I couldn't even throw at a hitter to deliberately hit him because I didn't want to hurt him or end his career or anything. But I did realize that I had to pitch inside. If I was going to be successful at the big league level, I had to pitch inside and not worry about hitting him. But I never just deliberately set out to hit a batter. And so there are things I could do and there's things I could not do, even competitively as a Christian. And so this, you just have to, through experience, figure these things out.